stop. Before you keep scrolling, I need you to answer this honestly. When did you last check your bank account and actually feel good about what you saw? If you hesitated, this video is for you. Here's what nobody is saying out loud. America is one of the wealthiest countries on the planet. The average American earns more than 90% of the world. And yet, over 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck right now. Not people who are unemployed, not people who dropped out of school, working adults, with jobs, with salaries. How does that happen? That's exactly what we're getting into today. And I'm warning you right now, some of this is going to feel uncomfortably personal. Good. That means it's hitting where it needs to. Let's get into it. The Federal Reserve, and I'm not talking about some random finance blogger, I mean the actual Federal Reserve published a study showing that 1 in 3 Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money or selling something. $400. That's less than most people spend on subscriptions they forgot they have. And here's the part that should genuinely disturb you. That statistic doesn't only apply to people making minimum wage. It cuts across income levels. There are people making 6 figures who have less than $1,000 saved right now, today. So if being broke isn't about how much you earn, what's actually causing it? Reason 1. No financial destination. Think about this. If you got in your car right now with no destination, no GPS, no address, nowhere specific to go, what would happen? You'd just drive. Stop wherever looked interesting. Spend money on gas. Spend money on whatever caught your eye, and eventually come home tired with nothing to show for it. That is the average American's financial life. Money comes in, money goes out. Maybe something gets saved if anything survives, but there's no destination, no specific number, no date attached to anything. And here's why that matters more than people realize. Without a destination, every single spending decision becomes a coin flip. Should you buy the thing? Skip it? Without a target, you have no filter. So you default to whatever feels reasonable in the moment. And reasonable in the moment is almost always more expensive than reasonable in the long run. The people building wealth aren't earning dramatically more. They just make fewer random decisions. Every dollar has one job: get me closer to where I'm going. That filter alone changes everything. Reason 2, and this one I call the broken alarm system. Here's the thing about life. It has predictable surprises. Read that again. Predictable surprises. Your car will break down. A medical bill will show up. Something in your house will stop working at the absolute worst time. These aren't freak accidents. They happen to everyone. On a long enough timeline, they're basically scheduled. But most people treat every single one like a catastrophe they never saw coming. And when a predictable surprise hits someone with zero buffer, something specific and dangerous happens. They make desperate decisions. Desperate decisions are expensive decisions. The car repair goes on a credit card at 24% interest. That minimum payment eats into next month. Next month feels tighter. Another thing breaks. More debt. The spiral doesn't announce itself. It just quietly tightens. A 3-month emergency fund doesn't just protect your money. It changes the entire category of decision you're making. You go from desperate to deliberate. That shift is worth more than most investment returns. Okay, here's reason 3, and this one makes people genuinely uncomfortable because they see themselves in it immediately. Most Americans are running their personal finances the exact way no business owner would ever run a company. Imagine a restaurant owner has a rough idea of what they earn, vague sense of where the money goes, never actually tracks anything precisely. How long does that restaurant survive? 1 year, maybe less. Every accountant in the country would call that negligence. But that's exactly how most people manage their own money. Rough sense, vague idea. And then the phenomenon almost everyone has experienced. You get paid, you spend what feels like normal amounts, and 2 weeks later, you're genuinely confused about where it went. Here's what's actually happening. Small, consistent leaks. Not the big purchases you remember making. The subscriptions you forgot existed. The daily lunch that feels like nothing per transaction, but quietly runs $400 a month. The convenience fees that each cost $5 and somehow total 200. None of these feel significant alone. Together, they're the entire difference between building wealth and wondering where it went. You cannot fix what you cannot see. Tracking isn't about punishment or restriction. It's about visibility. And visibility alone changes behavior because the discomfort of watching money leave for things you don't actually care about is enough to shift the decision naturally. Reason 4. Spending money to manage other people's opinions of you. Walk through any mall, scroll through Instagram for 10 minutes. Watch what happens 2 weeks after someone gets a promotion at work. You'll see it everywhere. Purchases made not because the item is needed or even genuinely wanted, but because of the image it creates. The watch that signals success. The car that projects prosperity. The apartment in the neighborhood that says something. And look, I'm not here to judge anyone. This is deeply human behavior. The problem is the scale of it now. Luxury adjacent products are everywhere. Financing makes unaffordable things feel purchasable. Social media turned consumption into a performance. Here's the irony that actually wealthy people quietly figured out. The people with the most money are frequently driving older cars, wearing unremarkable clothes, living in houses that are comfortable rather than impressive. Every dollar spent on looking wealthy is a dollar not becoming wealth. The performance requires increasingly expensive props, while the backstage financial reality quietly falls apart. One question before any purchase of this type: am I buying this because I genuinely want it or because of what I want it to signal? The honest answer changes the decision more often than you'd expect. Reason 5. The backwards money sequence. Here's how most people handle a paycheck. It arrives. Bills go out. Groceries. Gas. Various stuff across the month. Whatever survives at the end, if anything survives, might go towards savings. The problem with this is mathematical and psychological at the same time. Mathematically, life expands to fill available income. Expenses that feel optional gradually become normal. The lifestyle calibrates to whatever's left after everything else. And your future self gets whatever survives the gauntlet, which is almost always nothing. Psychologically, when your future is last priority, it becomes negotiable. First thing cut when something comes up, which means it almost never actually gets funded. Flip it. Before any bill is paid, before any purchase is made, a fixed amount goes to your future first. Treated like rent, non-negotiable, not if there's something left. First, always. What this forces is adaptation. You build your life around what remains instead of hoping something remains after you've built the life. The difference in outcome over 10 years between these two approaches is not marginal. It's the difference between having options and not having them. Last one. And this might be the most quietly devastating of all. Most Americans stopped learning about money the moment school ended. If they ever learned anything at all. Financial education in most American schools covers how to write a check, maybe a basic budget. The gap between that curriculum and what actually determines your financial outcome as an adult is enormous. Compound interest, tax optimization, the difference between a financial advisor legally obligated to act in your interest and one merely required to recommend something suitable. Most people navigate these decisions with the financial literacy they had at 18. And that gap, that ignorance, is not neutral. It is expensive, consistently and reliably expensive. Because the financial products designed to profit from that gap are everywhere. Fees structured to be invisible, terms written to confuse, products marketed to people who don't have the vocabulary to question them. One book per quarter, one podcast series, 1 hour per week of deliberate financial education. The compounding effect on decision quality over 5 years of that habit is not a small difference. It is often the entire difference between having financial options and not having them. Here's what every single one of these patterns has in common. None of them require low income. None of them are solved by earning more. Every one of them is a decision pattern, and decision patterns can be changed. Not all at once, not dramatically. Pick one, the one that felt most uncomfortably familiar while you were watching, and focus there for 60 days. Build that one habit before adding another layer. The $400 emergency statistic isn't disturbing because Americans are irresponsible. It's disturbing because nobody taught the system. These aren't character flaws, they're defaults. And defaults can be overridden. Your future self is a stranger your brain doesn't feel obligated to protect. Everything changes the moment you decide to protect them anyway. If this video made you think, hit subscribe. Because every week, Scott Finance puts out exactly this, the money truth nobody else is saying. Explained simply. The people who subscribe are the ones who actually do something about it. Let's build this together.